Well, we want to welcome everyone to the Peer Partners Virtual Ministry. We are your founders, Elder Maurice and Kim Johnson. If this is your first time coming on, the word PURE stands for prayer, understanding, reinforcement, and encouragement. And that's what we come to do each and every Sunday. So once again, we want to thank you all for just joining us on today. I tell you, we hope that you had a great day at your services. I know we had a wonderful word from one of our elders, Elder Queen Hill. I tell you, she gave an amazing word, a fruitful word on this morning. And like we always say, Peer Partners, we are your dessert. And so we want to thank you for coming on today because we have some amazing ladies going to come on and give us some great wisdom and knowledge on today's topic. We know that this month is Domestic Violence Month. And a lot of times when you think about domestic violence, a lot of times you just think about what women grow through. But guess what? Men, they experience it as well. And I did my stats on today because my wife, she knows me, even with football, I'm a stats guy. And so I looked it up, and approximately 1 in 10 men in the United States experience contact sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by intimate partners during their lifetime. And also, how does domestic violence affect a man? Domestic violence can leave you depressed, anxious, and can increase your risk of having a drug or alcohol problem because men are traditionally thought to be physically stronger than women. You might be less likely to report domestic violence in your heterosexual relationship due to embarrassment. And so that's some of the reason why a lot of men, they suffer in silence because of embarrassment. But we thank God for these ladies that's going to come and share the wisdom and knowledge about domestic violence. But the first one we have is Shalicia, aka Shay Tolbert, currently reside in Washington, D.C., working as a budget and programming analyst for the Department of Defense. She holds a master in business administration from Troy University, where she also studies her master in international relations, minor in national security. She graduated from the University of South Florida with an undergrad degree in finance. While attending University of South Florida, she was honored as one of the top 25 under 25 in the College of Business class of 2013. In 2020, she graduated with certificates from the University of Alabama at Birmingham, where she studied nonprofit management and a social media analyst. Shay also is the founder of Queendom Business, a nonprofit initiative to help people navigate through painful or traumatic life experience and turn it into something positive. She loved doing outreach through hosting events and getting involved in her community. She also has a monthly podcast on her Instagram and YouTube channel called Transformation Tuesdays, where she discussed different hot topics. In her spare time, she finds herself serving as the secretary on her neighborhood homeowner association board, being a public notary, representing up and coming musical artists as a talent manager and executive producer. And in this upcoming school year, she is set to be a mentor to students in the Undergraduate Society of Black Leaders at Ohio State University. So I want to present to you all Shay Tolbert. Shay, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you. Can you guys hear me? Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, Peer Partners, for having me. I hope that whatever I say tonight will resonate with someone. As he stated before, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I'm not gonna lie, this week has been a very hard week for me. leading up to this. I've been having a lot of spiritual warfare and a lot of things been going on with me. So I know that whatever is said here tonight, somebody needs to hear it. So as he stated before, domestic violence is something that's heavily built on and around women, but men deal with it as well. Sometimes women are the aggressor, sometimes women can be the aggressor, but a lot of times it's more prevalent among women. And I believe I was on Peer Partners a couple of weeks ago, and one of the doctors on there said that before COVID, domestic violence used to be 1 in 4, which is 25%, and now it's 1 in 3 relationships, which is up to 33%. And that is a big jump, a drastic jump, but we know the circumstances that COVID has brought on, people being around their spouses more, people being more isolated more, it has caused things to kind of escalate. So tonight I kind of want to talk about some things that lead up to domestic disputes. Domestic disputes most oftentimes end in violent or physical altercations, but there are things that can lead up to physical altercations that don't have to be physical. And I think a lot of times people look past those things because they're like, oh, well, she didn't hit me or he didn't hit me, so it's not abuse. But there are other things such as mental abuse, psychological abuse, verbal abuse, and those things all can be triggers that lead up to physical abuse. And there isn't one that is necessarily, I don't know if that's correct. I won't say that physical is worse than all of them, or there isn't one that's worse than the other, but they are all some type of form of abuse, and they're all unhealthy in any relationship. And I think many times people display certain things in their relationships and they're unaware that they're exhibiting behaviors that can lead to any form of abuse. So I think it's important that we educate ourselves on all types of abuse, not just physical abuse, but I think it's important that we know like the signs that lead up to the violent altercations that we so often hear about when we hear about domestic violence disputes. So I want to talk about a few things tonight based off of personal experience and based off of experience that I've witnessed with my best friend. Elder Maurice and Kim Johnson, they know my story. I will just share with you guys briefly. My best friend, Angel Connor, she was tragically killed in January 2020 by her boyfriend, someone she had been dating for about 8 months in a domestic violence dispute. They had argued and he shot her 6 times. And that was very devastating for me because leading up to this night, actually leading up to those moments, I had just got off the phone with her. There were signs and things that I saw, but they weren't things that I necessarily paid much attention to. And looking back, I try to make sure now that those little small signs that I see, I pay attention to, whether it be in my relationships or in any of my other friends' relationships, because things escalate. And I don't even really believe that Angel realized she was in an abusive relationship. I don't think that anyone really realizes it until it's too late. So it's important to know the warning signs when coming into that. A lot of times verbal abuse starts with people preying on your downfalls. And like you said earlier, this can come from the woman's side or the man's side. Comments like, nobody will ever love you like I do, and you will never find nobody better than me. Those are trigger signs that can lead to abuse. Forms of isolation, people who want to isolate you from your family or friends, or people who ridicule you for having family and friends. Those things are also warning signs as well. I want to pay attention to a word called gaslighting. It's something that I've dealt with in my previous relationships, and it's not a new phrase. I was doing some research on it, and it's not a new phrase, but I think that with mental health and a lot of the things that have come up, with people being more aware, people going to therapy, people paying more attention to how they people being more intentional about having healthy relationships with people. It's a word that I've seen more and more. So gaslighting is lying or psychologically manipulating someone or a person until they question their sanity, or they question if they are right, or till they question who they are and what they do. I remember I dated someone in college, and they told so many lies about me that when the lies got back to me, I had to almost second guess, like, wait, did I do that? Or did I say that? And when someone has you second guessing what you've done and you know you didn't do, that's a form of manipulation. And that relationship didn't go any further after that, but that is where things start. Even as far back as high school, I had someone who wanted me to go against the will of my parents. I obviously have strong Christian values where I didn't want to have sex. I didn't want to sneak out the house, but I was told things like, you know, you're grown, or you should be, you're going to be 18. Why are you still listening to your parents? And, you know, stuff like that. And even though that's on a younger aspect, a teenage aspect, people deal with that in their adult lives as well. And people wanting you to stand up to, maybe they weren't grown up, they didn't grow up close to their family, or they didn't grow up with certain values as you. People who try to make you go against your values in adult relationships too is a form of emotional manipulation. And I want people to be aware that trying to make someone go against who they are and what you have raised yourself, the morals that you stand on, is a form of manipulation. And when you, especially when you have Christian values, it's important to stay true to who you are, because a lot of people will try to change who you are. And sometimes it's not intentional, but a lot of times it really is. And they want to see you fall. And there's a saying that says, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And a lot of those people, they don't have a firm foundation and they don't have nothing to stand on. So they want to erase the foundation that you have built for yourself. And that is a form of manipulation and can quickly turn into gaslighting and can quickly turn into abuse. And those are some of the things that I feel like people don't really notice that they're doing, or that they're encountering, or that they're dealing with. They also try to undermine your confidence in who you are and what you believe, which is basically what I said, your firm foundation that you've set for yourself. Also holding people in their past. Many people progress, they change in dating relationships and marriage relationships. For example, I'll just give an example. If you meet a man, you guys get married, and you do excessive shopping, you're in all type of debt, all type of credit card debt, and he says, you know, I don't like you shopping, I don't like you doing A, B, C, and D. So you cut it out, and that's fine. You cut it out and you stop shopping, but now you only go shopping with him. And all you do is go shopping with him. And then one day you decide to go shopping yourself, and he comes back and flies off the handle. This is probably 5 or 10 years later, flies off the handle saying, you know, you always shopping, you're always doing this, you're always doing that. And you're saying like, but that's the past me. That's not me now. Like, I think I'm okay to do it one time. And, you know, you do it all the time. So I thought it was okay if I did it one time. That is manipulation, especially that's manipulation that can lead to gaslighting. If you present the person with facts and you pull up ring cam footage and you're like, okay, so you went shopping, you came in the house with bags on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and they refuse to see it. They refuse to look at it. You're presenting them with facts and they're saying that you're lying when it's really them that's lying. That's gaslighting. They don't want to see what you're telling them, and they don't want to pay attention to what you're saying to them. They just want to continue to live in the past. That is a form of gaslighting, and that is a form of abuse. A lot of times people don't pay attention to their communication styles. Not being able to hear the person out, not being able to communicate, it turns very quickly. And arguing, excessive arguing, people in relationships are going to argue, but excessive arguing where you're disrespecting, you're calling people names, calling people out of their names, accusations, accusing people of things that they didn't do, or that they may have done in the past, but holding people to their past is not healthy. I'm not going to say that's a form of abuse, but it's not healthy, and it can definitely lead to it just open the doors. Like, you know how they have gateway drugs, these are gateway things that can lead to abusive relationships. These are gateway traits that can lead to abusive relationships. People grow and people do change. Maturity in a healthy relationship will allow you to get past that. And a lot of times when you have a lot of arguments, confusion, we all know God is not the author of confusion. And if you don't have peace in a relationship, then that's probably not the relationship for you. And I mean, I'm speaking to myself even when I speak. If I'm having issues or dealing with certain things, then I go back to it and I pray about it, because that means that that's probably not where I should be. God's not going to give you peace in anything that you shouldn't be in. You're not going to have peace. And that's just point blank, period. You're not going to have peace where God doesn't want you to be. Every time, if a relationship happens where every time you do the same thing that the other person does, they don't see that they do it, but then when you do it, it's wrong, or they're jealous of you. I noticed that within my best friend's relationship. It seemed to me, I won't say all of them, but it seemed to me that the person that took her life was jealous of her. And she was a very beautiful girl. And she and I, like, when we go out, we smile, we have fun. People tell us, you guys are pretty. People tell us that. And when she was with him, she got a lot of compliments. And for someone who's not secure in themselves, or someone who's jealous, that's not a good sign. And I noticed that in her relationship, she's had a few of her boyfriends tell her things such as, you're not that pretty anyway. Why would you tell that to someone that you're dating? That is a red flag number one. Anytime a spouse is telling you something contrary to who you know you are, that is just something that you need to be aware of. And like I said before, these are terms of psychological abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse, and it wasn't physical at that point, but it all leads to the physical road. And that was one thing that I saw in their relationship was jealousy. And jealousy is, the Bible says jealousy is as cruel as the grave. And in her situation, it was as cruel as the grave. Many people feel like if I can't have you, nobody can have you. And that's a very dangerous concept. When you're dating someone and they're jealous of you going to be with your family, they're jealous of you on the phone, they're jealous of you having friends, they're jealous of always looking in your phone, looking at your social media, trying to see everyone you're talking to. Those are signs that it's not a healthy relationship and it could possibly take a turn for the worse. And I'm not going to say it always takes a turn for the worse, but like I said earlier, these are gateway things that you need to be cognizant of. Just think about when you're looking at your relationships, your friends' relationships, and things of the nature. I have a friend who just found out that she was pregnant, and the person who she was dating at the time, he left her, but he wanted her to get rid of the baby. And he showed up at her house one morning. Early Saturday morning, and was banging on her door, telling her to open her door and all types of things. And I told her, I said, this is, for one, you've set a boundary and told him not to come back to your house. And two, I'm afraid that he may harm you, especially if he doesn't want you to have this baby and you're telling him he's going to keep the baby. That's not appropriate. And I believe that boundaries are another form of disrespecting someone's boundaries, is another form of psychological abuse, because when someone disrespects your boundaries, that's them saying that I don't care how you feel. I don't want you to be comfortable. I don't want you to feel safe. And anytime you feel unsafe around a spouse or someone you're dating, or even a friend, if you feel unsafe around them, those are warning signs that you maybe need to, take a step back and be like, this is not healthy. This can lead to somewhere, and I don't even want to wait around to see where it may lead to. Boundaries are a really big thing that I think people should pay attention to, setting your boundaries and keeping them. And dating relationships, it's hard. I know that it's definitely hard to keep your boundaries when you may have love for somebody, or you've been with somebody for so long. Even when you're breaking up with someone, boundaries are important to keep, to set and keep and hold yourself accountable. And a lot of people think that they can do it by themselves, but you can't. And I think it's important to have boundary partners, like prayer partners, accountability partners. Have someone who will hold you to your boundaries. Like even when I was dating, when I have a friend, and I would be like, okay, after Angel passed away, or before it would be Angel, I would call her and be like, okay, I'm going to go on a date and I'm not going to drink. And I'll be like, hold me to it. So then if I get to TGI Fridays and I'm like, oh my God, this peach apple cider looks so good. I may text my best friend and be like, okay, Angel, and she's like, nope, you said you weren't going to drink. So no, I'm not going to drink. I set a boundary, and I said I was not going to drink when I went out. So those are the types of things that you need. Those are the type of people you need around you to help you be able to set those boundaries. And a lot of people don't like to share their business with a lot of people, but have you a few people who you trust. And it's also hard to find people to trust nowadays, but the people that you trust, you should have tenure with, you should have seen. And if you don't know that you have someone, you should pray and ask God to show you who in your life you can trust to talk to, who in your life is not going to judge you. And he may point you in the direction of someone who has been through it already. And it's important to have those kinds of role models and those kinds of people in your life, because they can help you get through whatever you've been through. Because I'm a firm believer that there's no one on this earth who hasn't been through what you've gone through. And I am also a firm believer that if you share your story, you will be able to help people, and then somebody will know that they're not alone. So I hope that there are people around you that are sharing their story, so that you may be able to reach out and have an accountability partner or a prayer partner that can help you get through whatever it is that you're going through. There was a few instances while Angel was dating where I seen red flags in the man that she was dating. And like I said earlier, we didn't really pay much attention to it because it can never happen to me. Like, you wouldn't think it would ever happen to you, or it can never happen to me. And the next thing you know, you're in that very situation. And a lot of times, even in my personal life, I see how I allow things to get further than they needed to go, and you didn't pay attention. Those were some of the red flags that I saw while she was dating him, was the jealousy, the extreme jealousy, the put downs, the negativity, the name calling. Name calling is another thing that people use to get in your head. And name calling is probably one of the most hurtful things you can deal with. And it does feel like, it feels physical sometimes, because you thinking that you love someone or that you like someone, and they're calling you all types of hurtful names. And that little rhyme, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me, is the most untrue statement I've ever heard in my life. Because words are so painful, words hurt, and some people can deal with it, but I don't have thick skin, and a word will cut straight through my skin to my heart. So being called a name that you know isn't true, or being called out of your name when you know you're a child of God, and allowing someone to call you out your name is not appropriate. And if you tell someone, I know a lot of people, especially in my generation, they're keen on the name calling. And I'm not going to lie, I called a few people a few names as well. But if you bring it to that person's attention that you don't like that, you don't like to be called out your name, and they continue to do it regardless of you stating that you do not like that, you deserve respect. You deserve love. You deserve to be called the name your mother named you, because you're nothing else but a child of God. That is one of those big things that I am big on. It makes me cringe, even when I watch Facebook videos or Instagram videos and I see people calling out their name. I'm like, why is that necessary? Like, I don't understand why that's necessary, but that's how people get their anger across. And to me, that's unacceptable. To others, that might be okay. But to me being me, that is a form of abuse to me. So in my relationships, if someone calls me out my name, I feel abused, even though it might not be, but it is psychologically in my head abuse to me because I don't want to be called out of my name. A lot of times, if you don't see your own worth, you will end up choosing someone who doesn't see your worth either. So you have to see your worth for who you are before you have to see who you are. You have to see how God sees you before you can expect someone else to see you. If you don't respect yourself enough to care about yourself, then you won't find someone who respects you. You have to love yourself first before you find someone else to love you. And I was telling someone today, if you don't find someone who loves God, they're definitely not going to love you in the appropriate way, because people cheat in their relationships all the time. They disrespect their relationships all the time. And that's somebody who's physically there. Yeah, you can do mean things to someone who's physically there, but a person who respects God, a person who we don't tangibly see, we feel him, but we don't tangibly see him. If someone can respect that person, then it will be perfectly okay. It will be easier for them to respect you being in their face. So if you find someone who loves the Lord, loves God as much as you do, then they will have the utmost respect for you. A lot of times in those relationships, people aren't happy with themselves. They can't take their own medicine. They may ignore you for a week, but if you ignore them for a day, it's World War III. And those are the people that you just need to pray for. And it's hard to pray for those people who are our enemies or those people who have hurt us. But I believe in the power of prayer. And a lot of times things might not change unless you just pray on it. They might not change on the regular. It's the only thing that'll change it is prayer. I tell people all the time, prayer and therapy. I believe therapy can change people and prayer can change people. And I'm a witness to that. I've seen how therapy and prayer has changed my life. And I believe that even in relationships, couples therapy, emotional therapy, a lot of people who are showing or exhibiting signs of psychological, mental, or verbal abuse, they're going through things on their own. And they may not know, oh, I can go to church, or, oh, I can get prayer, or I can go to therapy. So it's important that we be the light so that they can see that there is a way out of it, because they're probably going through an endless cycle of somebody who abused them. And a lot of times we see where people who abuse people have been abused in their lives. And it's not up to us to save them, but it's up to us to, pray for them, show them the way. And maybe you can be the one that saves them, but it's not your obligation. Your obligation is to see the warning signs and get out before it's too late, as it was with the case of my best friend. If we had paid more attention to certain things and not thought that they were cute, then we probably would be in a different predicament now. But I am, I'm adamant on sharing her story and telling people wherever I go, because I don't want her death to be in vain, especially in today's world with so many young women. They think arguing, toxic, going back and forth, they think that those things are cute. And it's not cute at all. It's not cute at all. And I never thought it was cute even before she passed away, but it just seems like a lot of people idolize that type of relationship. And that's never something that I wanted for me or for her. And I don't want that for anybody. So I guess know the signs, see the signs, and pray and keep a close circle around you. Don't allow yourself to be isolated. Don't allow yourself to be isolated from your family or your friends. Stick to your morals. Stick to your firm foundation. Stay true to who you are. Don't let nobody take you out of who you are, where you've been. Don't let nobody tell you you're wrong when you know that this is the way, that God showed you the way. Don't no man, I say man as in man or woman. Don't nobody know more than you, what God has for you. So you have to stay strong, stick to what God has told you, and don't let nobody take you out of that. And that is my spiel for tonight.
Amen. But Shay, we want to thank you for sharing your story. I tell you, domestic violence is real. It is real, and we are getting ready to do question and comment, but we do have another speaker coming up, Dr. Bree. So we want to have quick, short comments and questions before we go to Dr. Bree. But I just want to say that this is real, and like you said, we have to make sure that we have to be with people that's gonna love us for who we are. That's one thing I learned, because I have seen domestic violence before. So it was like when I dated someone before I married my wife, it was a part of the briefing. I'm not gonna hit you, and don't hit me. And in my younger years, a young lady hit me, playing. She hit me with one of those, blind things when you turn your blinds to, and she hit me, and I was like, that's it. And she really didn't think I was breaking up with her. I was like, I told you, I'm not gonna hit you, don't hit me, because that's where it starts at. You hit me one time, it's a possibility that you might think you can hit me again, And me and my wife, we're the same way. We never laid a hand on each other. I can honestly say I never hit a female in my life before, because like I said, I've seen it before. So I never want to, put myself in that situation, or as a man, make a woman feel unsafe. That's one thing you never want to make no one feel unsafe. So again, Shay, I thank you for sharing this. Also, Shay, can you put your information? Because I know you have a new book coming out soon as well. So I'm gonna have my wife give comments, and then we want you to come back and tell us about your book. Okay.
Okay.
Amen. Wow. Day, so proud of you. I remember so vividly. I believe it was 2 years ago you were on here. It was so fresh.
Yes.
And you were so brave, so strong to tell your story. And it was impactful. And I remember Angel's mom being on, and family, and you have really, my hat's off to you. You have really, like you said, made it that her death was not in vain. And there were so many things that you said. I don't want to comment on all of them, but one of the things that I love, the way you highlighted gaslighting, because I think for many years, those that are my age or older, around my age, it was never called that. It was, more like thought of as manipulation, or we didn't know this was happening to us. My first marriage was a 7-year marriage, and every single thing that it was more physical, but I remember the mental abuse was exactly what you said. A person really just trying to make you think you crazy. But one of the things that I know about you, and something you brought out, it absolutely helps when you have a supportive family. And, having parents that love you, that have instilled positivity, the word in you, that even if you find yourself in a situation like that, you know how to get out. Like you said, the name calling, no, that's not who I am. I am the righteousness of God. And it is so subtle. So I just love the way you brought everything out. I like that we started with you, because your story is real, and so we're praying that everyone that has a teen, a auntie, a cousin, a sister will understand that this thing is for real. And I want to bring up about why you wrote this book about the friendship. I love the fact that you didn't just focus on the death, but the friendship. Because if we can be greater friends and sisters and aunties and co-workers to each other, we can maybe catch the warning signs, or we can't. But it's that friendship, the fact that you're talking about the friendship, I think is so powerful, because it takes away the negativity of what happened. But I remember hearing you talk about y'all's friendship and how close you were. And I mean, it was one that would cause you to be envious. So I just wanted you to tell us, before we're going to bring up the slide with your book cover, and I want you to tell us how we can connect with you. But tell us how you came about writing the book and why you focused on the friendship.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it was 2 years ago when I first talked about it. That was my first time talking. And I'm happy that you guys gave me that platform. I wrote the book out of grief. I was grieving very bad, missing my best friend. And it was just really hard for me. So I started trying to write the book, and I had a vision in my head of what I wanted it to be. I had a dream about it one night, and I was like, okay, well, I want to start this, but I couldn't get the words to the paper. And as I was going through my grief process, I was like, I don't want to forget her. And then, a lot of times when you're grieving, your memory is bad, you blackouts. And there came a point in my grief process where I couldn't remember things. And it was like really bothering me, because I'm like, I don't ever want to forget my best friend. Like, she was the best person I ever knew. And it was really hard for me. So I was like, okay, let me just start writing, all my memories. So I started like writing bits and pieces, like cliff notes, but I couldn't really write the book. And one day, this lady, Mother Tosin, she kind of raised me, spoke into my life. She was like my godmother when I was a child. She took care of me when my parents were at work. She just messaged me randomly on Facebook and was like, finish that book. And I was like, what book? So I knew what she was talking about, but I just wasn't ready to put it to action. And this was almost 2 years later, and I was still dealing with everything. And it wasn't until we went to trial, and the man who took her life was sentenced to life in prison. I think when I came back after that week, I wrote the whole book in like 2 weeks, because I was able to release. I was holding on to all that stuff until the trial. Like, the 2 years until the trial was just a lot for me to deal with. But I think I had some type of closure after the trial. And after, when I got back home after he was sentenced, I wrote the whole book in probably 2 or 3 weeks. And then I had a finished product. I could see something that was a finished product. So I've been working on it all summer with a publisher, and I sent it to them, I think in August, and they have been, I guess, formatting it. I didn't know what I wanted the format to be. I just had the words on the paper. And I was like, I just want to give this to you all and make it something beautiful. And that is where we are now. And as of now, the book release was supposed to be October 29th online, but I am not sure if that date still holds. I've been having a delay in production. So I'm not sure. They say everything is due to COVID, but I'm not sure if the book will be printed by October 29th. But as of now, I'm aiming for November 5th for the book to be released everywhere, online and online and in person. I will be having a lot of book signings. If you guys could follow me at Queendom Business on Instagram, I'll be posting updates on there. But the book is titled Lessons from an Angel, because Angel taught me how to be the best friend that I could be. And it's interesting to me because she taught me so many things, and I wasn't even aware of the things that she taught me. So I wanted to focus on our friendship and not the way she was taken from us. I wanted to make sure that I paid attention to who she was and not how she was taken from us. There's a lot of books out there on domestic violence. I don't need to tell that story again, and maybe God will give it to me to tell that story in my way in the future. But as of now, in my healing process, I wanted to talk about the keys to healthy friendships and how she helped me to be the best friend that I could be. I'm also writing a devotional on how to be a godly friend, which is the sequel to this book. But I think that where I'm going with this is unique because it's my story. And even when I talked to my publisher, they were like, oh, we publish, over 600 books and none of these books are about friendship. people don't talk about friendship. There's not a lot of books in the market about friendship. And I believe that friendship is my thing. I prayed for that my whole life. I never had a best friend growing up. And I remember when I was in middle school, I had this best friend, and I was talking to her one day and she was like, oh yeah, my best friend, such and such. And I was like, what? I thought I was your best friend. And it just devastated me. And I was like, okay, God, I'm not having no more best friends. This ain't for me. And I always wanted my person. And Angel became my person as we grew up. Like, she became my person. She was my best friend. I was equally her best friend as she was my best friend. And I think that I am the guru on best friends. So I wrote the book about how to be a good friend. And yes, it will be out November 5th. And I will be traveling down to Alabama and Florida, specific dates in Atlanta, Georgia. The book release will be up here in Washington, D.C., where I live, but all those dates will be posted on my page soon and very soon. So stay tuned if you guys can follow me, and I will share the information with the peer partners as well so that they can put it out there for you guys to see. I'm really excited on what the book will do for people and how it will be received.
Amen. Wow. We are so proud of you. And your parents are our big brother and sister in the faith, and you are our niece. So we are so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to my husband. I just want you to know we love you so much, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to Dr. Bree, like I said, we do have another speaker, so we do want to have short questions and comments. If anyone have any question for Shay, you may open your mics and do so before we go to Dr. Bree to do the second part. So does anybody have any questions or comments for Shay? All right. Well, I think everybody just so in tune with what you said on tonight, Shay. Again, we did put Shay's Cash App in the chat. If you want to be a blessing to her, I know Peer Partners is, because that is, like you said, this is a very important topic and a much needed topic, and it was very fitting for us to let Shay and Dr. Bree to do it for Domestic Violence Month. So again, Shay, we want to thank you for coming on and sharing. But if you hold your question for Shay, please hold on to your questions. But we do have another amazing woman of God that's going to share. I do want to read her bio right quick before we go into it. Dr. Brenetia Adams-Robinson, aka Dr. Bree, is able to meet her clients where they are to help them tap into their potential to get where they are destined to be. Dr. Bree has a gift for identifying mental block, self-defined. We're going to ask everyone put your phones on mute, please. Your device on mute, please.
I think it's Miss Wanda. Okay, I think we're good.
Got it. All right. Dr. Bree has a gift for identifying mental blocks, self-defeating behavior, and self-sabotaging action that undermine the potential for great success as individuals, professionals, and leaders. She is passionate about helping leaders and managers understand how past traumatic experience and unhealed wounds impact their capacity to maximize, engage team members, and hinders their capacity be the empowered, successful individual that are meant to be. Dr. Bree has a Doctor of Management and Organization Leadership, a Master of Business Administration and Global Management Strategies, and a Bachelor of Science in Business Management with a minor in Organizational Leadership. She is experienced in both national and international markets as a HR professional with proven expertise in all major HR areas: leadership, education, team building strategies, employee engagement, emotional intelligence, organizational development, organizational citizenship behaviors, and strategy planning. She is the president of ECS, a HR consultants leadership education firm in Atlanta, Georgia. Having endured many emotional trauma and difficulties in life, Dr. Bree learns firsthand that one cannot hold on to past hurt, setbacks, and disappointment. Fail to release the things of one's past greatly undermines the ability to enjoy glory of life and walk in authenticity, abiding firmly in the belief that God used all things for our good, according to Jeremiah 29:11. As an ordained minister, she founded Proverbial Peace Revive, PPR, in 2004. PPR as a 501c3 is a community outreach ministry which seek to educate, equip, and encourage individuals who have been emotionally wounded by life trauma to release and forgive the hurt and pain of the past to walk in purpose and destiny. And I want to present to you all our I call our big sister in the faith, my wife mentor, Dr. Bree. Dr. Bree, you ready?
When I learned to take it off mute so you can hear me talk, I am.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. After all these years, I still get a little embarrassed when my bio is read. Hallelujah. Okay. Thank you, Sister Tolbert, for Torbert. I always say Tolbert, for sharing that heartwarming story. And I love the way you are honoring your friend. It's just amazing. I think that's going to be such a help to the body of Christ, because there's so many young women in today's society who don't know and understand when God says a friend sticks closer than a brother. They don't know what that means. And I'm so glad you're getting that concept out there. To God be all glory.
Thank you.
So I know that you all want to get this over want to close up between 8:15 and 8:30. So can I share my screen? I have a PowerPoint presentation because I want to get into some of the details of exactly what this, I call it an epidemic, is doing in today's society. All right. My ministry, one of the areas of our we deal with individuals who've been broken by the traumas of life, rape, molestation, child abuse, and domestic violence. Under the domestic violence umbrella, we have two programs. Domestic violence, which is defined as cohabitation violence, and dating violence, which is defined as a violent situation in a dating relationship. This year, we are really focusing on the dating violence program because it has just boggled my mind with the way the statistics have shifted post-pandemic. So we talk about domestic violence, and Ms. Torbert did a good job in defining it. Hold on, let me kind of shift some things so I can see here. It's really defined as the willful verbal intimidation, physical assault, sexual assault, battery, and any other abusive behavior that's perpetrated against an intimate partner. Is a pattern of controlling behavior. It is the essence of control. That's all this is about. It's about control. And when someone can control, they have the lead in your life, because you literally give up the essence of who you are when it comes to a violent relationship. And some of these I'm going to go through relatively quick, but if you want a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, just let Elder Kim, Elder Maurice know, and I will share it. So as my pastor would say, we want to get into the substrata of the matter, and that is give you the foundational information so you can see just why this is an epidemic. Society may not call it that, but the numbers say we have a serious problem in America. Nearly 7.8 million women have been raped by an intimate partner. Sexual assault or forced sex occurs 40 to 45% of the time in DV relationships. 1.3 million women are victimized by physical assault. Almost 1/3 of female homicide victims are victims because they killed an intimate partner. Of females who are killed with a firearm, 2/3 were killed by an intimate partner. The number of females shot and killed by their husbands or intimate partner are more than 3 times higher than the total number that are killed by strangers. These numbers are mind-boggling, but it does not stop there. We're going to get into the teen and college numbers in a moment. But children, when they see all this, they see that kind of violence constantly, it is literally imprinting on their mind, and their cognitive processes shift. They are the silent victims for long-term emotional, behavioral, and cognitive. That's everything they are, y'all. Your behavior, your emotions, how you think, that's the essence of who you are. So when children are seeing this constantly, it is shifting their capacity to see or believe for anything better. They're at greater risk of poor school performance, depression, physical ailments, and other negative problems and outcomes that will last long-term, some of them for the rest of their lives. By teen years, and this is the part that I really want to impress because it's the basis for the rest of our discussion, both males and females are at increased risk of drug and alcohol use and abuse, suicidal thoughts, disruptive behavior in school and social settings, and most likely the behavior they've seen is going to be the behavior they engage with in other toxic relationships. So you heard Elder Maurice say 1 in 10 men. That was pre-pandemic, y'all. Pre-pandemic, the numbers were 1 in 4 women, 1 in 5 teens and college students. And the statistics for men were unclear. It ranged between 1 in 7 and 1 in 10. Some went as far as 1 in 17. The numbers were skewed for this simple reason. Most men, as Elder Marie said, don't tell. Men are supposed to suck it up. Men are supposed to deal with it. And then when they start to complain, they're called names. So most men never say anything. Now, having said that, I want you to also understand a lot of women and a lot of college students and teens don't say anything. These are the numbers we have been able to estimate based on the people who do open their mouths and say something. These were pre-pandemic. After the pandemic, these are the current numbers. 1 in 3 women, 1 in 3 teens and college students, and the reports for men are the 1 in 4 up to 1 in 7. The numbers are not getting better. Now, what they have assessed is that one of the reasons the number have escalated so drastically with the women and the men, because they were in the home with their abusers. They were isolated. They were in this place where a lot of frustration, people lost jobs, people had issues, concerns. So you're in the house with somebody who was already abusive, and now the abuse escalated. The reasons the numbers for teen and college students went up is not because they were in the house, even that they were going on dates, but because what escalated during the pandemic? Social media, texting. So the social media, the computer-based violence escalated, the threats, the bullying, and that kind of thing. But either way, as you see, we have a problem. And we have got to bring more awareness to this problem. Research supports that the category most traumatized in dating violence are between the ages of 16 and 24. The major great group is high school juniors and seniors and college freshmen and sophomores. Young women are experiencing this thing at an astronomical rate. And because they don't say anything, because they don't have the emotional wherewithal, they don't have the cognitive ability to deal with this. So they turn to the only things they can. The drug use increases, alcohol increases, suicidal thoughts are propensity, and they are at risk for the continued cycle of toxic relationships. And college students are at risk because they're really not prepared for this. The sad thing is there is a paradigm in colleges right now where some boys have actually created what they call rape clubs. That is, they'll have a party at a frat house or at someone's home where no adults are, and they will get this young lady intoxicated, not drunk. They're doing things like putting roofies in the alcohol, and then on the premise of, well, let me take her so she can get some rest, they take her in the back. 3 or 4 more boys are waiting in that room, and they gang rape this young woman. This is happening on campuses across America. And unfortunately, because a lot of times these young men are wealthy, or they're jocks, or they have some other political connection, many people are overlooking what is right there in front of them. That's why this is so important. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell parents what you need to start looking for, because most parents are as clueless as many of the teens and the college students are. These are the numbers for high school. Nearly 1.5 million high school students annually experience physical abuse. Annually. That's not total. That's every year. 33% of teenagers report some kind of toxic relationship, to include 12% saying that they were physically and violently abused. 1 in 10 high school students have been purposely hit, slapped, or physically hurt by a boyfriend or a girlfriend. There was a study about 5-6 years ago of, I want to say it was 50,000 8th and 9th graders, 13 and 14-year-olds. 25% acknowledged being victim of dating violence. 8% said they were being sexually abused. These are 13 and 14-year-olds. Girls who have been sexually or physically abused are exponentially more likely to smoke more than girls who've not, drink more use of illegal drugs, and to binge on food, setting themselves up for miserable lives and health situations for the rest of their lives. College, 43% of female college students confirm dating violence, 19% were sexually abused. 24% of freshmen, college freshmen and sophomores were violently abused in a dating relationship, including rape and having the use of a weapon against them. 52% of college women report knowing someone who is experiencing violence and just not knowing what to do, and many do nothing. 58% said if they knew, they would not know how to get help. This is because October, and I honor October, I really do. At least we have that month of awareness. But these numbers say every single day, men and women, teens and college students, they're dealing with this every single day. But the only time we talk about it is October. We've got to get more vocal. Now, sometime you'll hear about it in February, because February, a couple of years ago, they started saying that it's in honor of teen dating violence. So you got October and now you got November. But this happens every day, every day, every day. So we've got to be talking about it every day. Most teens and college students involved in toxic relationships, and this is a statistic, never tell anyone because of the guilt and shame. 50 to 80% report knowing someone in a violent relationship. And 81% of parents, now look at those numbers, but 81% of parents say this is not an issue or it would never happen to their child. 81%, but the numbers say something much, much different. So as Shay kind of broke down, abuse, most people think of as hitting me. I did a presentation about 8 years ago at a youth camp. There were 60 kids in the class, and they were sitting in the middle of the classroom. The parents were sitting on the perimeter. So when I asked questions, I didn't ask anybody to raise their hand about what they went through, because I knew nobody would say anything when their parents were circling the room. 60 kids, y'all. And I asked this question. I said, how many of you all know of anyone who has been, and I went down the list, hit, slapped, pushed, yelled at, screamed at, cursed at, called names, or anything else that made them uncomfortable? Almost every single one of them in that class raised their hand. And when the hands went up, all the parents in the room went, what? Parents are in la la land. Parents got to come out of la la land. That's the bottom line. And when kids get to that age of being a teenager, and I've done a lot of research on this in my book, Unleash Educational Excellence, supports, when kids become teenagers, parents tend to think, I can give them more freedom by taking my hands off. So they back up and they give them more freedom. That is not what needs to happen. You need to give them freedom, but controlled freedom. They need just as much attention from you than someone who's 2 or 3. They just need a different kind of attention. When you have someone who's younger, they need you to be there out in front of them, pulling them and carrying them and helping them that way. But when they reach those teen years, the emotional center of the brain, which is located in the back of your brain near the amygdala, is very, very strong. But the logic center, which is in the front of the brain, is very, very weak. So most parents think I can give them more freedom, but they're emotional. And any parent on here, you'll know they just fly off at the handle. Something happened and they start fussing, and they something happened bad to the girl. She starts crying. That's because they're not being melodramatic. And I hear a lot of parents, oh, you just being too dramatic. No, they're being teenagers. That's what they do. The logic center is not developed. If you were to look at a CAT scan, the logic center in front of the brain is gray. The emotional center is dark blue. So they're very emotional. They need parents more during that time to help them process through how to make good decisions, how to determine if something's good or bad, how to identify if something makes sense. And if you're taking your hands off, the persons, and they're going to listen to somebody that is pouring into them, is going to be their friends, their connections on social media. And this is where, if they've connected to a love interest, that love interest is going to start having much more control than you do. But as we talked about, there is, as Shay talked about, there are several kinds of abuse. Most people just think of hitting, the physical abuse, but it does not start there. It starts with emotional. It starts with the manipulation, the gas. It starts with them talking and getting that young person to the point that they feel committed, in love, and therefore more easily controlled. So I'm going to go through, and these are by no means exhaustive list, but these are some of the things that you'll see under the emotional abuse umbrella. Isolating the victim from friends, family, and social interactions. Ignoring or excluding the victim from activities, especially if they're upset. That's their way of letting the victim know, I'm upset with you, so I'm pulling back. I'm disconnecting from you. And that makes the victim wants to connect even the more. Subtle humiliation and escalating disrespect in front of others. And it will be subtle at first. Sarcastic jokes, little teasing that aren't really funny, but they laugh. They laugh it off, making everyone think I was just kidding when it was nothing to joke about. And all of this is meant to make that person feel less and less and less valued. It's a very small thing. And you will find when you talk to people, These kinds of manipulative actions, the perpetrator knows who to go to. They're not going to connect to a young lady who is close to her family and who can stand up for herself. They might try it, but they're only going to try it 1 or 2 times. They're not going to connect or just continue to push with someone who is confident in themselves, who's got their authentic voice, who stands in their authenticity and tell you, not here, not today, not now, back up. They're not going to connect to that person. They're going to connect to someone who is a little bit more vulnerable. Making derogatory or slanderous statements about the individual in front of other people, demeaning or criticizing dress, weight, makeup, or whatever they think will make that victim feel devalued. Name calling, insults, especially in areas where the victim is not confident. Inciting fear and intimidation. At this point, is no hands of touch. They have not touched, they have not put hands on. It's all verbal. It's all meant to get into the mind of that victim and make that person feel less valued. Dictating what the person says, does, wears, who they talk to, and it will start out slowly and it will escalate to demands. And then exhibiting rage when things don't go the way the abuser wants them to go. Now, I want to infuse this at this time. Most abusers were victims first. Most abusers didn't come out of the womb being mean-spirited like this. This is learned behavior. This is someone who saw a father or a mother be abusive, or they saw a father or a mother being abused. They learned the behavior, and now they have mastered the behavior. Then you have cultural or spiritual abuse, and most people don't think about this one. In this one, the abuser attacks or ridicules the victim's belief system or their culture, and they begin to talk down about that culture or that spiritual faith. They attempt to stop the victim from practicing, and this is what Shay was talking about when the coercion to have sex, and then, well, that's a childish, that's old-fashioned. The Bible is, what you doing that for? That's old-fashioned. If you want to be with me, you gotta come up with the times. If you want to be with me, we got to come on to this century. All of those kinds of things. Anything to put down the faith, because by putting down the faith, they gain more control. Attempting to use spirituality or religion as a means of controlling. This is the flip side of the coin. This is the one that will say, well, the Bible does say men are in control of the household, or men are in control of the family, or men are the head. So if men are the head, then you need to be listening to me in this relationship, that kind of thing. They flip in the script on what the word actually says and means. And then attempting to force the victim to adopt their spiritual faith or lack thereof. That's abuse. It's just a different level of abuse. Then the one that has become so prevalent because of the pandemic is cyber technology abuse. Criticizing them on social media, spreading rumors, lies, and gossip. Monitoring emails, texts, and the social media platform. Posting cruel photos and things of that nature against the person's will, making them feel bad. Sending harassing text, email, or messages, threatening, intimidating, or trying to terrify the victim. Recruiting other people, quote unquote, so-called friends, to also post negative things or send negative things via the phone. They will literally set up false accounts on social media to gain access to the victim by inviting the victim to join this new website. They don't know, this is just a friend. And now everything you post, they're monitoring what goes on in your life, because teenagers and college students post everything these days. And then they will hack into the social media account. There have been, unfortunately, Angel's story is not an isolated story. Angel's story is more prevalent than any parent or guardian would like to believe. There have been cases where there was a case just a couple of years ago, maybe about the same time Angel went through what she went through. A young lady was trying to break off a relationship with a young man in college. She sent him information that, can't see each other anymore because she saw the sign. She was trying to get away from him. He hounded her. He went behind her. He followed her, everything. She went to work one day in the mall. He followed her to the mall. He said, if I can't have you, ain't nobody having you. He shot her in the head, then turned the gun on himself and shot himself in the head. This is serious business. So when these things happen, that's why they need to be able to talk to somebody. They need to be able to process through because these things are happening. Remember the number, 1.5 million every year. They don't have logic processing through. They need to be able to talk to somebody who can help them process through this kind of trauma because these are traumatizing situations. And then you have the psychological abuse, and this is where gaslighting comes in. Exhibiting possessiveness, jealousy under the guise of extreme love. I just love you so much. I just can't stand to see you with anybody else. So I'm not really jealous. I just want to make sure you're okay. Consistently calling the person under the guise of concern. I haven't heard from you. I just want to make sure you're okay with what you're doing. And then it gets to they're actually tracking what you're doing, who you with, when are you going to be back home, when can I see you? Manipulating the victim by subtly influencing decisions. And they don't come out and say, well, you need to do this. They will come out and say, well, I can see a problem with that. So why don't we think about it this way? The we come in, why don't we think about it this way? I think if we do this, this will, and slowly but surely, that conversation become, well, you don't need to do that. No, that's just stupid. You need to do it like this. And then comes the threats and the willful intimidation. It starts off as subtle manipulation and then becomes willful intimidation. Threatening to kill themselves if the victim doesn't stay in the relationship or say they're going to end the relationship. Correcting the victim under the guise of helping them. But what they're doing is disrespecting them and taking their voice in their capacity to make their own decisions. And then comes the stalking. And this is all escalating to the more physical violence. Physical violence. I actually had a young lady, I've had a couple of young ladies to tell me, well, he doesn't hit me, so it's really not abuse. But he calls you everything but a child of God. He pulls, he snatches. He might not punch. And I did have one person say, well, he never punched me. Or another one said, well, he actually didn't hit me with a slap. He just pushed my face. Anybody who puts their hand on somebody else in any way that can be harmful or aggressive is a victim or is a perpetrator of abuse, period. And that's what we have to teach our young people. Nobody should put their hands on you in any way that is harmful or aggressive at any time. That's a red flag. Slapping, hitting, kicking, biting, scratching, punching, strangling, choking, pushing, pulling, grabbing, throwing, shoving, throwing things at a victim, even if they miss, pulling their hair, snatching arm, yanking clothes to get them under control. Anything that hurts is abuse. And ultimately, using a gun, knife, box cutter, which are very popular with some abusers these days, or any weapon, is violent abuse. And it must be stopped. And then there's the sexualized abuse. And this is another that the young people don't really see as abuse in and of itself, unless it's actual forcible rape. But any pressure for a young person to have sex when they don't want to is sexual abuse, and it's rape. No matter how forceful or gentle or whatever other word they want to use, if the person did not want to have sex and they were coerced, pressured, or made to have sex, it's abuse and it's rape and it's against the law. So emotionally pressuring a victim to have sex when they don't want to, forcing the victim to perform sex act, emotionally or pressuring them to have sex with other people, demanding the victim to wear more or less clothing, and usually less to be more revealing, or sometimes it'll be more if they're real jealous because they don't want anybody else to see the body. Forcing them to engage in sexting. And this gets so many young girls in trouble. They'll say, you know, send me a picture with your nude, send me a picture with your shirt off. And they do this because they think this person loves them, cares for them, and would never hurt them. But the moment they get that picture, your rights are gone. Because even if they do something and you sent them that picture from your phone and you sent it, it's consent. And once they get that picture, they can do anything they want with it. And many young men do the unthinkable. Making degrading sexual comments, especially in front of other people. Making threats to the victim or the victim's family if they don't comply with sexual coercion. And then forcing the victim to have sex for money with other people. All of this is a part of the sexualized abuse that a lot of our young women are going through and our young men are going through in today's society. So what are the signs? What do parents need to look for? Parents, anybody on here who's a parent, this is by far not an exhaustive list. These are just some of the signs. In my research, I've actually put together an exhaustive list of things that parents should look for and an exhaustive list of what I call the red flags of toxicity. And there are actually 34 red flags. But these are some of the things that are more blatant and more common. Failing grades or unusually disinterested in classes when once they were very focused. Dropping school activities for which one time they were very active and interested in. Avoiding or pull away from friends. This is when you're asking your daughter or your charge, well, I haven't seen Mary around lately. Well, we don't hang around that much anymore. But you always hear about the boyfriend. Girlfriend's gone, boyfriend's always there. Changes in mood, attitude, or personality. They've gotten sullen. They've gotten quiet when they used to come in and they're talking to you every day and they're talking about this and they're active with the family. Then when the family come over, they're hanging in the bedroom. Or when they come in from school, they're hanging in the bedroom. Or when you talk to them, they get irritated when you start asking questions. That's a change in mood, attitude, or personality. Acting out, exhibiting signs of anxiety or depression, or being secretive or non-communicative. Remember, emotional part of the brain, dark blue. Logic part, gray. So this is a sign they just don't know how to handle this. It's too much going on with them. Having bruises or scratches that they can't explain. Changes in their eating or sleeping habits. Avoiding eye contact with you when you really talk about this person, this dating person, this new person that they've met. Using drug, alcohol, or negative coping mechanisms when you know that's not their character. And the dating person seems to have a lot more control over them than you do. That's a huge red flag. Now, one of these might just be they're going through some things, which is still not a good thing. They should be talking to you. But when you can see more than one of these red flags, you need to start paying attention. Because this is when problems occur. This is when your daughter might get in a car, and this is an actual case, going to a party with this young man, and you don't see your daughter again. Daughter got in the car, going to a party, and was never seen again until her body was found near a lake, because she was trying to break it off with this young man. And a lot of times by the time the perpetrator gets to this point, they don't care about getting caught. A lot of them don't even run. Their thing was they were losing control and they were not going to have it. but the daughter or son is gone. They can't come back. They need somebody to pay attention to the signs. So what can you do? These are just some things, again, not an exhaustive list. Science has proven that the earlier a young person engage in sex, the more likely they are to connect to more toxic relationships. So you start talking to them early about not engaging in sex, understanding the value of their body, understanding who they are. You pour into them their value. Now, you can't pour into them their value if what's coming out of your mouth is criticism, put downs, and anger. That does not teach them their value. Even if they make you so mad that you want to spit nails, that's the time as a parent you need to shut up. And yes, I did say it, shut up. Get you a quiet place, calm yourself down, and then talk to that teen. Your teen takes in everything. Research has proven this, parents. Your teen, even when you don't think they're listening, they hear every single word out of your mouth, and they take it to heart. Any criticism becomes part of their spirit. Any put down is imprinted in their mind. So the more you pour into your teen about how amazing they are, how amazing they are meant to be, what God intended them to be, therein lies your strongest weapon. Then you got to be an example for what you tell your child to do. You can't have men coming in out or going out and with 10,000 and women out there and then talk about to your child about a healthy relationship. It doesn't work that way. You can't allow people to abuse you. And I'm not talking just physical, any of the things we just talked about, emotional, verbally, psychologically. They need to see healthy in you as a parent, as a mom or dad. Then they emulate healthy. If they see broken, they're going to emulate broken. Stay alert, pay attention, be present. Even when they say, I don't want to talk, you open the door and you can say, well, I can see something's wrong or something's bothering you. And when you heard, I heard. So I'm here. I'm here when you get ready to talk. And you keep asking. You stay on top. Take an interest in what they're doing. Take an interest in who they're dating. When they start saying they got a new person in their life, a new boyfriend, a new girlfriend, invite them over. And yes, I'm talking about your college students too. If they're close enough, invite them to dinner. Pay attention to how they interact. And if you ask God to give you discernment, I promise you, some of us have the gift of discernment. But if you ask God, God, let me see if everything's okay here. God will show you signs. Don't ignore the signs. Now, don't go overboard and accuse somebody of being a perpetrator when you have no proof, but don't ignore the signs. Do not ignore the signs. Talk frankly to your sons and daughters about dating, relationships, and yes, sexual behavior. That's a conversation most parents don't want to have. In this day and age, you don't have a choice. Provide a safe place. Be that safe place for them to land if they have a problem. Be that safe place for them to come if they need to talk. And if they do something wrong, don't lash out. Pay attention. Keep abreast of what's going on. Be someone your teen can relate to through frank conversation. And remember, they do want to talk to you. You just have to give them a reason to do so. Back to you all.
Wow, Dr. Breed, it was so much information, great information as well. I tell you, I put Dr. Breed's Cash App in the chat. If you want to be a blessing to the woman of God, please do so. I know Peer Partners here, but we thank you for those stats. I'm talking about this is something you did amazing research for us to do. And I tell you, somebody already asked about the slides already, so I know we'll be passing those out as well. So again, Dr. Bree, thank you for this amazing information.
You
a
are
lot of
most welcome.
signs, a lot of things that parents need to look out for now. You know, you have the tools, you have the resources now. And sometimes that's a lot of times that's what parent was missing was the tools and resources. You know, they didn't have no clue of what to look for or how to look for certain things. So I think you really helped a lot of people, even our live audience on Facebook Live, they're also coming in as well. So this was very, very key. Uh,
Thank you.
Kim, do you have anything before we do questions and comments?
Wow, wow, wow. You know, the one thing that I say, Dr. Bree definitely is always thorough whenever she does anything, but with this, the passion. Let us not hear, but not adhere. With
Amen.
everything that we receive, a lot of people teach this stuff because they're trying to make money or they just want to. This is from a person I know is passionate about seeing change. And it doesn't matter if our children are grown, if we don't have children, we're either a parent, an auntie, a sister. It's going to take us all getting involved and paying attention. I love the way you said, be transparent, be present. And my husband and I, we just taught about that with we have to be present. I remember raising our children and there was so much going on. We were just purposing to survive and we were from one thing to the next. And I know there were times we were not all the way present. And when we're not paying attention, even like you said, a conversation about sex, right? So many of us, because we love our children so much and we don't even want to discuss it. So if they say something, I got a boyfriend or whatever, the response would be, yeah, whatever. Or we'll roll our eyes. No, we need to be involved, but not even to the young ones, even to the adult women. We need to pay attention to our friends, married couples. We need to be aware because a lot of times I know in my first marriage, I had no idea I knew I was in a toxic situation, but I thought it was the norm because I had never been taught. Some people just think this is the norm. Yes. They think because they saw it in their parents. My parents used to argue. Well, I saw my mom push, my dad, or I see them. So then they'll leave and say, I'll never be like this growing up, but then walk right into it. That was my
right into it.
Walk right into it. So this is information that no money could pay for this. This is a blessing. Shay started it off with her own personal story that's going to be so impactful that walked us right into you laying the foundation. And we're just so grateful and thankful to have you, Dr. Bree.
To God be the glory, babe. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. We've got to keep this dialogue going because too many people are suffering. Too many people are suffering, and too many of us. See, I was in that red situation too, and for years I even said that I was not really a victim because I didn't really get punched, slapped, and teeth knocked out, but I was a victim of the emotional, the verbal, and the sexual abuse. But my family was all messed up, so it was just my norm. So it was imprinted in my mind that was just a norm, and it's not. It's not.
Again, Dr. Bree, can you, before we do questions and comments, can you tell us about the books that you have out, share out with that?
Yes. Unleash Educational Excellence, and a lot of the information that I shared today is in the book. Unleash Educational Excellence is a parental guide to help maneuver the unique and sometimes difficult situations parents go through with children, from how to help them succeed in school, from simple things like how to maximally help with homework, to how to deal with difficult situations like peer pressure, teen dating violence, self-esteem issues, and those kinds of things. So it's a walkthrough with every kind of issue, how to deal with teens who have issues with learning, how to deal with fathers who are not in the home, parents who have kids who are special needs children. All those are chapters. Foster care parenting. All those are chapters in the book. I just have a passion to see families thrive. That's God. God's thing is family, marriage and family. And when you look at what's happening in our nation today, not in the world, actually, families are crumbling. So this book was God's pathway, if you will, blueprint on how we need to maneuver and make sure our families and our children stay strong. And then my other book is a leadership book. It's Informal Leadership for those leaders in the workplace on how to keep teams strong and make sure the team members are strong in the workplace as a member of your team. And we do have a program for domestic violence. We have a 12-part program for domestic violence recovery. And then we have a 7-course program for teen dating and college dating violence awareness and how young women need to maneuver and see themselves in healthy relationships and how to get out of toxic relationships.
And that's great information. And Dr. Bree, can you put in the chat the information on how to get your book or even how to get in contact with you? Because I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to get that book. I know for myself, I want to get it because, like I said, I have grandchildren now. And so, I want to be able to get copies for my even to my children and for my grandchildren as well. So I thank you for what you have shared with us today. So we want to go ahead and open up. Do anybody have any questions or comments for Dr. Bree or even for Shay that you held on to until the end? So the floor is open. You may take yourself. I see Miss Laurie. She has her hand up. So we're going to come to her first. And then if anybody else have any questions or comment, you may take yourself off of mute. So Miss Laurie, the floor is yours.
God bless you all. Thank you. And it has been excellent with Ms. Shay and Dr. Bree. And working with youth, something that I've been noticing, and I hope that's being addressed as well, is some of our youth are under the radar, especially young girls, because it's unfortunately, even in the church, same sex, they're hiding under the radar. You don't see a boy coming around. You don't see her jumping in the car. She's going with her friend to the mall, hanging out. And I have seen an uptick of this happening with our youth. It is worse. I don't have any numbers, but working with them, are we dealing with this the way that we should? Because, you can only say so much to them. You can only do so much, and they have your hands tied. But that's my biggest concern right now. And they are being abused as well. So do we have any information or stats on that? Thank you.
I don't have any stats on that, but PPR, the one thing we need to do more of is collaborate with other ministries that have specialties. And PPR does have 2 other organizations that specialize in issues and the psychological problems of same-sex relationships. We don't have any programs in PPR because we are biblically based, and sometimes we have to be careful on how we put that out there to the same-sex couples. But we have 2 organizations that we are connected to that we refer to when we come across those situations.
Thank you for that information. Anybody else have any questions or comments? You may take yourself off of mute.
Good evening, Dr. Bree. This is Yvette Torbert, and I thoroughly enjoyed your information. Thank you so much for the factual information that you provided. I loved when you talked about the development of the brain. I'm a former educator, and that was one of the areas I was so intrigued about. And I was wondering if, you talked about some of the development. I often talk about the prefrontal cortex and trying to tell parents of teens, especially the middle grade teens, that the brain is not all the way developed, and some of the ways that their thought processes that impacts it. And sometimes that had been so difficult to share with parents. So I thought that was awesome that you shared that, and I appreciated that. And so that is in correlation also, that prefrontal cortex, that development is all a part of the brain development that you discussed earlier.
Yes, ma'am. And
Yes.
that's one of the things that, and I'm so glad you've studied that. Those who have studied the brain and the brain development, I think it's our responsibility to help other parents understand, because I've got my children are grown right now, but I didn't know about the brain development, especially in those teen years. So I found myself saying a lot of things, a lot of the same things I hear from other parents. Well, that was stupid. That didn't make no sense. Well, what you doing that for? They're doing that because they don't have the logic that we have. That frontal lobe doesn't really develop until you're about 25 years old. So the logical side of your brain, you are not fully developed until you're in your mid-20s. But what do parents say almost all the time when teens do something crazy? Well, that was stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Well, why'd you do it? They did it because they're teenagers. It's as simple as that. So we have to make sure if we get parents to understand that, it would take away so many of the friction and tension and arguments between parents and teens.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
I think that's where a lot of it is. Parents don't understand they're teens. They're not going to be logical. What they do won't always make sense. And sometimes it's going to frustrate you to the nth degree. That's when you need to shut up, go blow off some steam somewhere, and come back to the table and say, okay, baby, tell me what was going through your mind when you made that decision, and talk them through it. That's how we have to do that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for Dr. Bree again, because I always, you know better when you learn better, you do better.
Amen.
And
Amen.
definitely not trying to talk on a higher level of academia, but I love it that that's your area of specialty, because I do share that a lot with parents of those students of middle ages, and also a lot of the things that our young people are doing. I'm speaking more from experience, but also from the things that I've seen from being a former educator of those ages. The children want to save face. So some of the things that they're allowing to happen to them, they know better. However, they don't want us to see them in a light where they've slipped into something that they know better than.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what makes it so dangerous. And a lot of times we're quick to jump to their defense based on what we've taught them, but we don't know what they're doing when they're not with us. And a lot of times they'll put on a face to make themselves appear more innocent than they are, or not that they don't want us to know that they've slipped into those situations. So we have to be careful in how we deal with it, and not always come to the defense as to my child wouldn't do this or they're not doing that, because we really don't know. A lot of the things that they're doing out of our view, this is a time period where they're more concerned with what their peers want versus what we want.
Peer pressure is huge. And that is one of the reasons when I talk about a safe place, you have got, as adults, we have to be a safe place. We have to. If they feel judged, if they feel censured, if they feel that you're going to come down on them, they will shut down in a gnat's heartbeat, literally. By a safe place, that means you go to them, have them say whatever they have to say, and you keep the judgment off your face, you keep the judgment out of your voice, let them say what they have to say, so you try to understand where they are, and then you come back and say, okay, let's talk through this. That's a safe place. A safe place is not, well, why you did that? That was stupid. What didn't you figure out that was going? That's not a safe place. That will be the first time they try to open up to you and you come at them like that, that will be the last time they open up to you. But if they know you're a safe place, if I do something wrong, mom and dad or my guardian, they're going to talk to me. They're going to help me through it. And if I get myself in a mess, they'll help me out of it. I might get fussed at. I might have to deal with some punishment, but I can lean on mom and dad. I can lean on my guardian. They're a safe place for me to go. That's the only way you're going to get your teens to open up to you on a consistent basis. And there's so much out there with them right now. There's so much hitting them in the face on Facebook, on Instagram, on IG. They're getting it from television, radio. They're getting it from every side. So you need to be a safe place so they don't get caught up in something that they can't get out of.
Wow, that was some more nuggets that you just shared with us, because like you said, we have to make sure we are a safe place and a safe space for our children, even adult children. You know, we
Amen.
have to make sure that we're that safe place. When you were just talking about us as parents, when our children are going through that stage, sometimes we as parents just don't understand. It reminded me of that song with Will Smith was when he was Fresh Prince. He said, "Parents just don't
Parents just
understand,"
don't understand.
and that is and so we understand that is a true statement based on what the information you share with us, because sometimes we just did something as parents, did what we saw our parents did, you know,
Mhm.
and then the only thing we'll say, well, I won't do what my parents did,
And
or
didn't
some
do it.
things we'll do what our parents did, but sometimes we just was just trying to make it as at some point, instead of just paying attention to our children, because they need our undivided attention, you know.
Absolutely.
And so again, we just want to thank you for that, for those
You're
words
very
of
welcome.
wisdom.
And that's part of that relatable thing, Elder Maurice. When I put the bullet points and be relatable, that means you got to come out of your cocoon. And if you don't like social media, you better learn to like it, because you need to get on and know what they're going through. You need to know the language. You need to know these acronyms that they're using. Okay, because sometimes they're having a whole conversation on that phone and in front of you, and you don't know what they're saying because you're not relatable. You're out of whack or out of tune with what's really going on. You need to know what's going on with the age group that your child is. And it's not just teenagers anymore. Remember the 8th and 9th grade survey? It's starting when they're in elementary school, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th. They're being approached on a sexual level. You need to know what's going on with the age group that your child is. Get with other parents, join the PTA, make sure you're involved out there, know what's going on so you can relate when your children start talking.
Great. Do we have any more questions or comments? This has been a great topic, an important topic as well. But do we have any questions or comments? We do not want to leave anyone out. Okay. If not,
Amen.
great. And Dr. Bree, do you have any last comments before we get ready to do our announcements?
Just make sure, parents, that you open your mind to the reality. 80% of parents think this could never touch their child, but 1.5 million teens are abused every year. There's a disconnect. Find where your children are. Give them a safe place to talk. Pay attention, tune in, so you can relate when they open their mouths. That's the only way you're going to keep them safe. And if anybody wants a copy of the book or any I will share this PowerPoint presentation with Elder Maurice and Elder Kim, so you can get, just let them know you want a copy of it. And if anybody wants a copy of the book, just send me an email and I'll tell you how to get it. It's on Amazon.
Thank you again, Dr. Bree.
You're welcome.
I see why she's my wife's mentor. All right, well, we get ready to go into our announcements, and we get ready to turn it over to our great administrator, Elder DeVita. The floor is yours.
Amen. We thank God for this awesome session on tonight. Great knowledge and bringing great awareness to such a how do you word it? But such a broad topic, such a topic that affects many people. Amen. And so we want to say thank you for being a part of the men's check on yesterday. I know that they had a great time in the Lord on yesterday, and we just want to say thank you to all of the men for being a part of the awesome event.
Yes, and I just want to add on to that, Elder Vita. Again, just want to thank all the men for coming out. We are in the process of putting out the information for the Men Check virtual conference coming up January the 7th. So men, be on the lookout for that. It's gonna be amazing. We have 4 amazing men that's gonna speak to us, speak life into us, January the 7th in the Men Check virtual conference entitled Men Living a Kingdom Standard. Men Living a Kingdom Standard. And that's how we're going to open up 2023. But again, yesterday was amazing. All the speakers came on, was blessed. The men of God was blessed. So again, men, thank you for coming in.
Amen. And also, I want to let you know there will be no peer partners next week. No peer partners next week. Ladies, prepare yourselves for Saturday, November the 5th. We are having our last gathering of the year, and our theme is Women of War, being willing and relentless, coming from 1 Samuel 33-8. We have some awesome speakers, our own spiritual mom, prophetess Gwen Browning, Pastor Shelley Jones, prophetess Chandra Gore, Dr. Jamila Maxey, and prophetess Danita Batista. So you don't want to miss this. It is going to be great. And we're going to close out the year strong. So please go to eventbrite.com and register. It is free. And also, peer partners, on November the 23rd, we will be doing a gas giveaway. We will be going to various gas stations in the city, giving away gas cards. We are going to give away a total of 50 gas cards. And so if you would like to become a sponsor or so into the gas giveaway, you can send your donation to our Peer Partners Cash App. It is $Peer Partners for Life. Again, that's $Peer Partners for Life, or you can send it to our Zelle, 931-220-2796. And we would love to have you be a part of this awesome giveaway.
Also, if you so desire, please put in there in the comment, put for gas. If you do so in one of those ways of giving, please put in there for gas giveaway.
Amen.
All right. We are so excited to announce the Fortified Marriage Retreat coming up April the 14th and 15th of 2023, built on the rock, and this will be in person. Yes, we are bringing it to the great city of God, Clarksville, Tennessee, April the 4th, 14th, and 15th. The cost is $150 per couple, but this includes the 2-day retreat. This includes a lunch, dinner on Saturday night, workshop, t-shirt, and bags. And then I tell you, we're going to have some amazing speakers coming. We have Coach Damaris and Leslie Johnson out of New York that will be coming. We got Erica and James Rook out of Illinois, and our big brother and sister, Bishop Shelton and Evangelist Yvette Tober out of Alabama. They will be coming and giving us some wisdom and knowledge. We will be having it at our church here, with our parents, spiritual parents, Apostle Harry K. and Prophetess Gwen Browning at Faith Mission Ministry. All the workshops will be done there. And then that Saturday night, we'll be going to having the Saturday night gala where we'll be dressing up, and that will be at an event center. But you can go on Eventbrite right now, go to the Fortified Marriage Retreat and register. I tell you, you do not want to miss out on this. This is for marriage couple and engaged couples to come to this event. I tell you, come and invest in your marriage. in your relationship. And I guarantee you, you will be blessed, but you have to come with the expectation to make your marriage better. So thank you.
Amen. Also, we want to encourage you to please spread the word about Peer Partners. You can check out our Facebook page, Peer Partners, our Instagram at Peer Partners for You, our YouTube channel to catch all of the replays of these awesome sessions. And also, if you feel so led to sow into the Peer Partners Ministry, you may do so via Cash App, Zelle, or PayPal. And you are able to check out Peer Partners on Clubhouse. We have 3 rooms. We have the men's check every Tuesday at 6 p.m. We have the Women of the Word and Faith every Friday evening at 6 p.m. And Marriage Takes 3 on Saturdays at 5. So we want to encourage you to be a part of either of these rooms.
All right. My wife and I, we have another ministry called Peer Coaching and Consultants. We are certified life coaches, so we are opening it up. We do marital coaching, premarital counseling, marriage officiating, and family resolution. And so you want to get in contact with us. That's the information. We do a free consultation for you. But we want to see, this is why God laid on our hearts to open it up, because we want to see you do better in your marriage. We want to see you do better in your relationship. You may face some situation you don't know how to get out of. We believe by the Spirit of God that He gives us the tools and resources how to help you out there. So if you want to get in contact with us, please reach out to us and set up an appointment.
Amen. And I am going to turn it over to our other awesome administrator, Miss Lori Hayes. Amen.
God bless